Hello and welcome to the Brett Campbell Show. In today's episode, I speak with Trav Bell. Interesting conversation with Trav. We actually have a number of similarities throughout our journeys. He started in the fitness world, I started in the fitness world. He had a franchise, I built a franchise. And we talked about a number of things. So Trav's known as the bucket list guy. So in today's episode, we talk about, what is a bucket list? Why should we even have a bucket list? In fact, I committed to a couple of things on this podcast that now I'm accountable to. Can't tell you what they are because you got to listen to them on the episode. But we talk about everything from achieving goals, productivity. We talked about Jordan Peterson. I don't mind a little bit of a chat about Jordan Peterson. He wasn't really a fan until I actually gave a summary that I think has changed his mind. Interestingly enough, today throughout this podcast, there was a couple of things that he made me look at things from a different perspective, and I also did to him. So it was actually a really, really good chat. We talk about the carnivore diet as well. Interestingly enough, I might give that a bit of a blast. Something I've been thinking about doing, and it was good to be able to ask some questions. You'll see, I get, when I really want to know something, because I'll just be like, okay, wait on that, get back to this, give me the answer. So very insightful conversation. Great man. Does amazing things, and really looking forward to bringing this episode to you, which we will do in 3, 2, hold on, I know what you're thinking. You still need to head over to iTunes if you haven't given us a 5-star review. And of course, be sure to take a screenshot of this, show us that you're listening to it, upload it to your Instagram story, tag myself at Brett Campbell Official. There you go. Let's go over to the episode with Trav Bell. Trav Bell, welcome to the show, my friend.
Stoked to be on, Brett. Yeah, long time.
Mate,
yeah.
You've sort of, we've been social media friends for a long time, like I guess how a lot of relationships really start, right? And I've seen you doing certain things. You started in the fitness industry as well, didn't you? That's sort of where you got your...
Yeah. I had a business called New Level Personal Training. Right. I did that for 20 years, and I founded and franchised a chain. We ended up franchising our personal training studios. We had 21 personal training studios there at one stage, some in Queensland, New South Wales, and started in Victoria.
Yeah.
So I was one of the first personal trainers, kind of running around Melbourne.
Yeah.
Bit of a show of age there, but came out of university, started personal training third year uni, pre-internet. Crack book.
What year was that?
And 1994 or 5. 1995 is when I registered my personal training business.
So you would have the fanny packs and the bloody tight lycras, and
I still have.
You still have? I love it.
Still have. I've got it on. I've got it all down here. It's on. There's heaps of protein and all stuff.
Sweat towels.
Don't do this on a podcast.
Nah, that looks terrible.
No. So, still rocking that, mate. I think it's coming back, isn't it?
Never left.
No, this is 90. It was like I was just coming out of that, and then became I was the Australian Institute of Fitness senior presenter there for about 3.5 years here in Victoria, helped write the curriculum down here. And like I said, had probably 300 personal trainers working out under our umbrella there at one stage. There was kind of us and Vision Personal Training doing the personal training studios. And mate, I did that for 20 years.
Yeah, right.
And then I had a little, as you'd say, a breakdown before breakthrough moment, went through a bout of depression, came out the other side, put on a talk, and at the end of the talk, someone actually called me the bucket list guy. And I went home and registered the domain name, thebucketlistguy.com, with no idea how the hell I was going to register, monetize it.
Yeah.
It just felt right. And it was around the time of Tim Ferriss coming out with his 4-hour work week, everyone kind of going online. You'd know that well.
Right.
And I had all these commercial leases in one of my companies, and I'm like, I want to just downsize here and run shit from a hammock.
Yeah.
Like Tim. And so, that was a long drawn out process.
Did you hold all the leases for all of your franchises?
Some of them.
Right.
I own 3 company-owned studios. I had one in Elwood, Park, and Yarraville. we bought and sold a bunch of studios and bought them and then rebranded them.
Right.
And that was one of our acquisition strategies. And then I basically, I kind of got over it. And I was had some sort of cancerous people within the system, as you could appreciate, and some stuff going on in my life, and I went to a pretty dark place, and I just made a decision to get out and get out of the fitness industry kind of altogether. Love helping people, but that model for me at that time just wasn't congruent, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. Lost the passion. So
what'd you speak at your event to be called the bucket list guy? What was the event about?
Well, yeah, good call. Like I came out of that and I was like, well, do I, with the depression, mate, do I go on? I knew people on pretty heavy antidepressants, and I've done, like you, done so much exercise, so much. I've trained people with depression. I've trained mental health, and I know that this kind of cures all. Well, to a certain degree, depends on the person, but essentially, I just got right into fitness and got right into self-help, personal development. So I found myself every weekend spending hundreds of thousands, walking on fire, breaking boards, hugging it out and high-fiving it with strangers, crying on my shoulder, you cry on mine, breaking arrows, bending bars, all that sort of stuff. And someone at the time said, mate, why don't you teach this stuff? And it actually helped me compartmentalize it. So with my entrepreneur history, I've never had a job in my life. So I've always worked for myself, straight out of uni, put all my entrepreneur skills, the newfound NLP and life coaching skills and all that stuff that went along with those weekend seminars, put it into a talk, about a 3-hour talk. I don't know what it was called, but it was shocking. And I was so nervous. I dressed in a suit. That's weird.
Yeah.
And because that's what I thought public speakers did.
Yeah, that's right.
And I even tried to do a sell from stage thing because I saw someone. And
run to the back.
Completely free. Yeah. Run to the back. And it was like only 40 people in the room.
Yeah.
It was like the back's just there. I'm nearly there. So it's
meet you down the back.
Just made it super weird. And but at the end of the day, I package in all the stuff that I learned and getting some laughs, getting some ahas. But one thing that I did share that a lot of people didn't know about me is the fact that I'd had a list, a list to do before I died, actually written down since I was 18, and I just shared it. Just off the cuff, I just shared it. And I had it written down, so wherever I went in university and shared housing and whatnot, I'd always have my list. I still got it today. And
why'd you have a list? Why'd you have a list?
I don't know.
What 18-year-old has a list of?
I don't know. I always, I don't know, something I read, saw, someone told me.
Was it sort of in your family, like write things down? Okay.
Write it down. So I actually wrote it down, got it out of my head and reflected on it quite regularly too. And it might have been a Tony Robbins book. But at the end of the day, I had this list and I asked the room, about 40 people that I nearly had to pay to be there. Who else has got one of these lists actually written down? And I quickly realised I was the only freak in the room. So I said, well, what is your why? Why are you building your business? Why do you want more money? Why do you want more time? And quite often we hear it all the time is pay off the house, put the kids through school, do a bit of travel when I'm older. Yeah, I'm probably sicker. I've never got it.
Yeah. And
I'm like, well, if you've got this kind of life plan, sitting out there, doesn't that pull you out of bed in the morning rather than you pushing you out of bed? And having me going through, my depression, and when I look at what I went through compared to what I hear these days, it was nothing. But with the rise and rise of mental health, depression, anxiety, we've got this thing called a loneliness epidemic, mate. This is a thing. And at the end of the day, there was too much of this going on for me to not step into this. And for me, it's always been my true north, how I recalibrated on why it helped me make decisions quicker on my business, because I wanted to do all this cool stuff. So shared this with the group. It inspired the group. And then Joe, one of the girls at the end, has said, how's all this list to do before you die stuff? It's like a bucket list. You're like the bucket list guy. And went, light bulb moment, registered the domain name. 10 years later, I've been doing that ever since, and it's always been my filter. And now we've got certified bucket list coaches around the world in about to open up in our 22nd country, which is pretty cool.
Teaching the principles, the frameworks that you've been able to create over the years.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Mate, so sort of back in franchising, but not franchising, licensing. I mean, that's
the thing I love when, that I love from my franchise days and license days was the ability to duplicate, right? It's such a great skill to be able to have and carry on into other businesses. Mate, when you were 18, what was the craziest thing on your bucket list?
Well, you know what? The top two, actually the top three, were go to Mount Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
So I've done that. I did that with my dad.
Nice.
And it was to own a BMW, and I didn't even want a BMW, so that I'd never.
I think everyone when you're that age was a BMW was the sort of.
The Holy Grail in the 90s.
Yeah.
Now you couldn't give it to me.
No, that's right.
The second one was to do an Ironman, a full Ironman.
Yeah.
And growing up as a swimmer, surfer, that's what I've done my whole life. I've always wanted to do an Ironman and just test myself that way. The third thing, though, was to do a hike with my dad. My dad and I'm adopted, and my dad and I, weren't the best of mates growing up, if you know what I mean. And he's a fitter and turner by trade, same job since he was 16 to retirement. Me, a serial entrepreneur, his adopted son, didn't speak the same language. So it was actually to go on a hike with him. And so we found ourselves doing that in probably 9 years ago in Southwest Tassie, the Great South Coast Track. When you get dumped, you get dumped in the middle of the old growth forest area in Tasmania, and you've got to walk back to a place called Cockle Creek. Cockle Creek is the southernmost town in Australia. And for everyone listening who may or may not know people from Cockle Creek, just think of the Deliverance, and that might be a frame of reference.
How far a hike was it?
The website says 8 to 15 days worth of food you got to take in.
Oh, Jesus.
So light aircraft, Dad, his two best mates, me, drop off, plane pisses off. You're there, your pack gets lighter and lighter as you go because you're eating all your food. And it was about 500 metres from the end. And you go up and down what they call the Ironbound Range. Ironbound Range, you go up for a K and then come back down for a K. The Ironbound Range is the point of Tassie. And it's an epic, and you always wet, you're always in mud. It can get cold. We did it in the peak of summer, but it was awesome, and it really did bond Dad and I, and I was sort of back in my personal training kind of days still, and everything was a rush, and I was trying to get from place to place, camp to camp, and Dad was just cruising. But here's the story I've told before is we nearly lost him a couple of times, and it was pretty full on. About 500 metres from the end, I was frustratingly walking behind Dad, and I said, "Mate, I've got something to tell you. This has been on my bucket list. Doing this hike with you has been on my bucket list for the last 10 years." And he's just like, "Yep." Not a mad of emotion. And that was it. There was no big father-son moment or anything like that. We did the selfies. We had the lunch. We got to the finish on the bus back to Hobart, and he's gone, "Trev, what's a bucket list?" I said, "Mate, it's all the shit you want to do before you die." And then, emotional. This is as emotional as he got, and he had a tear in his eye. And he said, "Oh, this has been fucking special. I'm glad that you put it on there because this has been awesome." And what else do you want to do? 6 months later, gave him a call. I bike riding with one of my mates who's a New Zealander. You're a New Zealander, aren't you?
Yeah, I grew up there.
You're a New Zealander?
Yeah. I was born in Australia, but I claim New Zealand.
I think every New Zealander thinks they're Sir Edmund Hillary, like all outdoors people, like
some beautiful hikes.
My mate Grant, he's got no toes on his left foot, lost him for frostbite. He's a fair dinkum mountaineer. I used to ride
That'll be
with
Grant
him.
then. Grant, New Zealand. Grant, not Grant.
Yeah, so Grant. And he said, "Mate, I'm going to Mount Everest. I know that's on your bucket list. I know that you really want to go. How much is it?" Shit, I can't afford that. And he goes, "Trav, you'll find a way. I know you will. You'll just find a way. If the why is strong enough, the how will work itself out, right?" And so, and he said, "Well, what we're doing, we're going with a full-on expedition team. What you can do, you can join in with us. We're going from Beijing. We're getting a train down into Tibet. We're going the northern side. We set up base camp advanced base camp at about 5,500 meters. And you can peel off there if you want, or go to advanced base camp, peel off there." Dad, yep, that bucket list thing that we were talking about down in Tassie? So, yeah. I said, "Mate, we're going to Mount Everest." He's like,
"You're fucking crazy."
"Fuck, really?" What? And we're going through Tibet, and he said, "Mate, where the fuck's Tibet?" I said, "Look, it used to be part of China. It's not now anyway. The point is, we're going." "Trav, you realise I've never been out of Australia before."
Yeah.
Exactly, mate. That's why we're going.
Yeah.
So,
mate,
went to Mount Everest. We went to Mount Everest. Awesome. We've gone to Mount Kilimanjaro. We summited Mount Kilimanjaro together. We've done the Inca Trail. My 40th birthday, we did Machu Picchu. We did Kokoda together, took a bunch of bucket listers with me. And now Dad and I are best mates, and we've travelled around the world all because of my bucket list, mate. So,
and that right there is the side, I think, of bucket lists that people don't think about, right? They're like, a bucket list, I've got to go bungee jumping. I've got to jump out of an aeroplane. I love the element of, hold on a minute, you can do these cool things, but it's more who you're doing it with, right? So, I mean, I've traveled around the world and I've been to many countries where I've been by myself, and I'm just like, I just wish I had someone that I loved and that was close with me that could experience this together, because I could never explain it the way that it feels right now.
Better shared, way better shared. And this is also a lesson in self-leadership. Put your own oxygen mask on first before you can help others.
Yeah.
Quite often I get people, whether I'm doing a keynote or coaching or whatever, and people like, "Thank you for giving me permission to dream again." But really, what's happened? And we're so in the matrix. We're so, waiting until someday, the perfect time to come around before we go and live our life. We live in a delayed gratification society. I'll be happy when syndrome. With about a depression, with the depression and the mental health, like, what's wrong with being happy now? So it helps people get off the couch. It helps people make decisions about their life, and it helps people focus in on themselves so they can be the example. Parents, they can be the example for others to follow.
Yeah.
And to get engaged in this, what I call a tangible life plan, in the form of a bucket list. And I say our business plan or our career plan needs to fit into our life plan, not the other way around. So at the end of the day, I don't know. I'd love to do business. I'd rather do business with a bucket lister. Someone who's on fire, someone who's enthusiastic about life, someone who's always got a tale to tell, having a fun experience. I want to do business with them, mate. I want to buy from them. You know what I mean? I want to be even the son or daughter of those sorts of people. Those people get laid more. Hello, it's at the end.
Especially if it's on their bucket list.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Mate, so how do you generally approach it? Like, I'm obviously fiercely curious of how do you turn it into a business? I mean, I've got 1,001 ways in my head of how you could turn it into a business, but how have you done it?
Well, if people can go to my TED, I did a TEDx Melbourne talk a few years ago called Life's Too Short. And in that, I introduced and unpacked a piece of IP that I created called the My Bucket List Blueprint. You can go there, you can use it, and it'll help you create a personally meaningful and holistic bucket list, right? At the end of the day, we've created a bunch of different programs off that, out of that, around that. And look, as you know, as a coach yourself, mate, people do need a coach. They we can look and listen, watch all the information in the world, but if you're not held accountable to it, it means nothing. There's a lot of people that are not, unfortunately, self-starters. They do need to kick up the arse. And that's where our coaches come in. But essentially how I monetized it coming out of the blocks was through speaking. Mm-hmm. So I put it on, I used to do 3.5-day personal development events called the Bucket List Experience. And I kind of got sick of running those big events. We'd do rap jumping and all sorts of fear things, and it was pretty full on. And
what did you say, rap jumping?
Rap jumping is when your forwards abseil off a building.
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah.
Mission
You
Impossible.
actually stand on the edge of the building and you run down it and you let go. There's so many metaphors in it. It's crazy.
Yeah, right.
And the coolest thing about that, people still talk about this today. It's awesome. And we used to set up all the GoPros and all this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And people absolutely loved it. But the point being that monetizing it was mainly through speaking. So I'm what they call a CSP, Certified Speaking Professional, with Professional Speakers Australia, which are globally recognised certifications. So I've spoken on nearly every continent, trying to get a gig down in Antarctica still, so I can tick that off the list.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, having travelled all around the world, I start conferences, finish conferences. I'm up against, old mate who's climbed Everest, who's got one arm, one leg, and did it with his dog, or the 6-time gold medalist. And it's a hard gig, that first slot. I'd rather talk about life, and that's been the filter, and that I've always looked at speaking about. I can speak about entrepreneurship. I could do that until I'm blue in the face. But at the end of the day, I'd rather talk about life. I'd rather come from a life coaching point of view rather than a business coaching. Leave you guys to do that bit, and I'm happy to be the icing on the cake.
Mm. Yeah, look, I certainly vibe with that. I'm very similar in that nature, where I'm passionate about business. I love business, but I'd much rather sit here and talk about wisdom and philosophies and depth, peeling back the layer of the onion and going, but what's beneath that? Because that's what really matters, right? It's in all coaching aspects or advisory or anything. A lot of the time, your conversation has nothing to do with a tactic. It's to do with how do we get you to take the first step, As you said, you find the why, the how will present itself, right?
Yeah, that's it. And it's, and I come from it from a mental health point of view. I can't help myself, and it's not about just getting people pumped up and going and doing stupid stuff on their bucket list. It's really the impact that we can have on families to Fortune 500 companies and, and change the conversation, mate, because it's there to be changed. There's, all the stuff that we learn in seminars, I'm sure that you'd agree that these tools, these methodologies need to be out to the mass market rather than the over-dependency of antidepressants and these sorts of things. I mean, we can, and that's why the mindfulness and gratitude has really come up in the last few years. The basis or the foundation for what I speak about is positive psychology. I've done a lot of positive psychology work, and positive psychology, for everyone listening and watching, is basically the science of happiness, how to help people find more meaning, more purpose, and more fulfillment in their life, and more gratitude. I just put this kind of brand of bucket list over.
What's a starting point for you? What's sort of the nucleus of it all? It's helping people. People can go to my TED talk and just start writing a list. The point is like you got a 42% more likelihood of actually stuff in your life and goals manifesting if you actually just write shit down. Yeah.
Mate, and you can go into you and I deal a lot with public, and public programs, but you go inside a publicly listed company and you come out with this be, do, have, which has been around since, and you're like Jesus. You're just, it's like a revelation. I'm tongue in cheek, but you can kind of say the simplest of things, like write down your goals, write down a bucket list, and that in itself is a revelation. Yeah. I can look across 1,000 people in an audience, still to this day, still 10 years later, say the same thing and go, you know what? Let's start thinking about our bucket list, because our bucket lists are up there with our to-do list. They're swimming around with each other. Yeah. It's not until something traumatic or dramatic happens to them or a loved one that they suddenly reprioritize in a heartbeat. Absolutely. I haven't got the time. I haven't got the money. Suddenly you get given a use-by date, or your mate or family member gets given a use-by date, and suddenly you've got you become infinitely resourceful. My mission, mate, is to help wake people up before they get given a use-by date. I'll do it through a book, through an interview like this, through a speech, through one of my coaches, whatever. But at the end of the day, I want to wake people up to start living their life and be happier. It's as simple as that. And so writing stuff down is, I believe, the number one thing, and then going and knocking out, call it a bucket list snowball effect, where you go and cross something off, immediately.
Where do you suggest people start with their list? Do you start with something small to get some runs on the board, see how actually exciting and fulfilling it can be to tick some of these things off? And
it's about choosing happiness, right?
Yeah,
it's about choosing happiness. Get a bucket list buddy, and just cross something off. And my bucket list blueprint that I created helps us go north, south, east, west in our own brain. Helps us to extract and articulate a personally meaningful and holistic list. So start with that.
Right.
This is from the people that you want to meet, the challenges, the fears, the skills that you want to learn, the travel stuff, obviously, through to the curiosities that you want to satisfy, a whole bunch of different things in there. The kind acts, kind things that you want to do for other people, the legacy that you want to leave, the things that you want to buy, the materialistic side of things. But at the end of the day, you'll start to unearth these things that you want to really do in your life, and it's so individual.
Yeah.
And like
it might be on the 50th thing that you're like, oh shit, I didn't even really know I wanted to do that, but wow, that would be, if you give them a rating of the impact of what that might have.
It's a consciousness exercise, right? I'm doing 5 things at the moment, but it's a consciousness exercise.
Yeah,
it's actually about making it more conscious. But it's also, if you look at the TED Talk and some of the stuff that we speak about, we've also got a concept called the reverse bucket list. The reverse bucket list is the things that you've done in your life, as if it were in a bucket list all the way along. So it gives us a sense of gratitude, and it gives us a sense of a foundation.
Absolutely.
I want to help people live by design rather than by default. And we've got one other list. So we've got the reverse bucket list, we've got the future bucket list, and we've got the other list, and which is the fuck it list. When I come out on stage, I show this movie of my life, jumping out of stuff, climbing stuff, and running around and doing Ironmans. And I know half the audience are like, fuck that. I don't want to do
absolutely,
that shit. So they're like, write that down.
Mate, I love the reverse bucket list, because you're right. I think we live in such a fast-paced world right now where people don't really stop to reflect and realize, I think it's not until you sit down and you go, oh my God, like if you've traveled a lot, you sort of see it not as a privilege and more of a necessity of, okay, where's the next place? And you actually look at it and you're like, I've actually been to 26 countries. Holy crap. Like, to your point, your father hadn't even been to any countries until he was later on in life, and the ability for us, and it's not now until obviously COVID, planes shut down, people can't travel. Like I'd literally, just in the first month of COVID, I had 2 overseas trips planned that no longer, and I'm like, it's been 6 months where I haven't traveled anywhere. I'm like, oh my God, I normally travel. I'm like, what am I doing? Right, I'm going on a holiday to Byron Bay this weekend. I'm 1 hour down the road. I'm pumped as hell. I've never been more excited to go to Byron Bay.
Right now, with all due respect, I was meant to be in Brazil right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing about what I do, and you really love this, mate, is for the last 10 years I've been writing my bucket list off on tax too.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, I've got to get out there and make some tax deductions. We've got to,
yeah. So, maybe buy the new Tesla truck or something.
Yeah.
But that's a bucket list item.
Oh shit.
I want to ask a couple of questions just because I know people who will be listening and be like, okay, cool, I get it. I want to write down all the things that I like doing and I want to do and all of that. How many is too many? Do you just recommend sit down and just blast out as much as you can and then sort of refine it? What do you look like 10 years, 20 years, your entire life? Are you looking just in the next 12 months? What do you
keep adding until you die?
Right.
Real simple. Yep. Keep adding until you die. Keep crossing off until you die, and then
so it's a forever evolving.
Find a vehicle. You know, whether it be business, whether it be property, whether it be shares, whatever. Find a vehicle that spits out. I mean, now what we do for our jobs or our business is pretty straightforward. If done right, your business, your vehicle should spit out the time flow and the cash flow for you to do the shit you want to do. Right?
Yeah.
Double bonus if you actually enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you're of service to a lot of people. I think that's the holy grail. If you actually enjoy it, 75%? No, sorry, 75%. That's here in Australia. 89% of people in the US are what they call disengaged in their jobs. There's 89% of people who go to work every day don't like what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. And they put up with it, right? COVID was a blessing for most of them. They're complaining they don't have a job.
Yeah, they do it for the 401k at the end and the 2 weeks off a year. We get 4 off here in Australia, but 2 off in America. And so, look, we've all got different restrictions, but it's not about comparing mine to yours. This is not a pissing contest, but it's about identifying the things that light us up, the things that we can do, but also the things that I just want you to write down for the sake of it's coming out of your head right now, and write it down. And you never know, the universe has a funny way of the path appearing in due course. Absolutely. Worry about the what and the why, not about the how. And and see and
then the who.
On the journey.
I'm a big fan of the who, and then it's like, who can I get to? Who do I want to do this with? And then who can actually help me do this? Who can I talk to that can put me in contact with somebody who's walked Everest?
Coaching. This is why we do group coaching. We do group coaching through our I've done stuff with some really big companies. Currently doing some programs with big companies, and it's about bringing the group together, the company together, to actually be a resource for each other as well. But we've used bucket lists as sales incentive systems. We've unearthed all this stuff and then crafted a 12-month plan, like a bucket list calendar for that company to go and do cool stuff. We had 5 ladies in an insurance company go and do crocheting together. I didn't know what the fuck crocheting was, but
I do. I know how to crochet. My nana taught me.
I missed out. I've got FOMO now. But the point is, we've had people like we had a real estate sales manager buy a guitar and guitar lessons for one of his agents, and he's like, "What am I doing?" The agent frothing, loved it, and it meant so much more than other incentives. It went off the charts.
Absolutely.
And this has a massive cultural effect when done right within a company. Better done in a group than one-on-one.
Mate, I like it. I'm already starting to see dots joining in the sense of once you've created your bucket list, let the people around you know, hey, man, this is what I've done. And to your point, it's like, cool. Like no one knows what to buy me as a gift. Like my wife's like, I got no idea what to buy because anything that I want, I'll get. And I don't say that in a again, how big's my fucking ego way? It's if I really want something, I'll figure out how I can get it. Right?
Of course.
And that's probably been for me and what's sort of popping up here, and I'll open the box of transparency for a second, is I've probably used that as I don't need to write down these things because if I want it, I'll sort of get it.
Right.
But I'm already sitting here going, I've wanted to, and I want to, and I will go on a family holiday, like our full family, right? We haven't done an overseas full family holiday ever, okay?
Me either. I've got 4 kids.
Yep. And for me, that's that would be like I want to take my mum back to Scotland, right? That's the only place that, like when I say to her, hey, if I could take you anywhere in the world, where do you want to go? She goes, I want to go back to Scotland where, family and heritage and stuff. And I'm like...
The thing is, we've done all the stupid male shit. We've done all that. We've probably done the adrenaline stuff, and like it morphs into something else as you get older.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. It really morphs. It changes with age. It changes with different responsibilities. It changes with the kind of, and you're this type of bloke as well. It changes when you get family in your life and other people that you want to share these experiences with. And
the meaning deepens. There's a meaning behind it.
It does, but it also helps people recalibrate after a divorce.
Yeah,
it helps people recalibrate. Right now, we're so inundated right now with inquiries because right now with COVID-19, everyone's taken a big collective deep breath in.
Yep.
It's not just my world that's being affected, it's everyone. So they really are recalibrating on what am I happy? Am I getting meaning? Am I getting, fulfillment out of what I'm doing right now, out of life, out of my job? And you've probably seen that as well. This is where people buy franchises more.
Yeah.
In times like this. This is where layoffs and, people are innovating, collaborating like never before, adapting, and they're certainly realigning.
Yeah, I've been talking about it a fair bit on the podcast the last few weeks of it's the ultimate reset now, and I hope people can utilize it as that. First week into COVID, I ran a webinar just to share everything I knew from a free, how you can generate free business, right? There was no sale, no pitch, no nothing. It was just like, let's just jump on for a couple of hours and give some value. And there was one lady and she's like, so my travel industry, I'm a travel agent and I'm wondering how I can, start generating business in that. And I'm like, I asked her, I said, do you want to be a travel agent? She goes, no. I said, you're welcome.
Listen,
do you know what I mean? It's like, and that's the unfortunate thing, I think, in the last few years, especially, since we personal development's been around forever, right? But, there's this evolution of it the last few years, and it's becoming more mainstream and it's becoming more, accepted and so forth. And the world's slowly starting to wake up. Some people are waking up way too fast and gone off the cliff the other edge, but, I see this as a massive opportunity, a forced opportunity for many, but sometimes that's just what we need, right? We need to be...
human beings unfortunately need a bit of a slap.
Yep. And I'm sitting here right now, back to my other point there with my mum to Scotland, I'm going, fuck, I reckon if I just wrote it down, I would do it because it's real, right? And that's what happens. It's real.
Here's what my challenge. Go find a picture on Google Images that best represents that thing for you. Create a bucket list board.
So like a vision board, is that what you...
Yeah, but don't put affirmations. Don't put affirmations and all that.
That would just be a photo of my mum. Like I don't care if she wanted to go to the back of Roma out fucking west here, to hang out at... I know already... I already preempt the feeling that, I would rather be in a farm in Scotland somewhere showing her some statue that she wants to look at, that I might not, be like, well, okay, it's cool. But being there in that moment would be better than any view or any international holiday I've ever been, Bora Bora, fucking, Maldives, any of that stuff, because it's the depth of who you're being able to do it with, I love that. I love you. You've already triggered a couple of little things for me there that I know I need to go and do.
Well, here's my challenge to you. My challenge to you is I want you, and I'll put it on social media, tag you up, and I challenge you, Brett Campbell, to send me, Trav Bell, the bucket list guy, his bucket list written down.
Oh, it could be a big one once I start.
Fuck it. I'll give you to the end of the week, mate.
Well, I'm actually going to be sitting down drinking some nice premium wines this weekend, so I'm sure I'll have...
This weekend, here we go. Monday morning, inbox, 9 a.m, I should see it.
Oh, I tell you what, let's... because I know me, Wednesday I'm sending it to you. How about that? I'm done. There. I'm committed. I've let everyone know now.
I'm writing it down.
Yep, Wednesday.
Brett Campbell, BL, Wednesday.
I'll send you at least my first 50 items.
Yeah, that's cool. Yep. Power build it. Big and small, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like it.
Just write it down, what it is, what it is. And now I've got a podcast as well. Maybe we flip the script.
Let's do it. You can use it as a bit of a case study, see what the hell I do. But see, this is where now I'm already feeling that internal energy because
it'll get under your skin.
Well, because I know me, right? I know myself, and this is why I probably haven't applied it, because I know I'd go fucking AWOL on it in a good way, where now what it's done is elevated that next thing of, okay, cool, now I'm going to write out what I really want, and I'm going to go and do it.
How many staff have you got at Claxton?
It's about we've got about between Claxton in Australia and the US, we've got about 30.
Cool.
Yep. Yeah. So
let's get on a Zoom with them.
Well, that's probably actually that could be a cool little exercise.
Wouldn't you like to know how to? Wouldn't you like to know some of their bucket list items and see the comparisons between them all?
Mate, it would be great. Absolutely.
There you go.
Mate,
there you go.
What are you finding yourself, other than bucket lists, like what are you finding yourself talking about most of late? Like what's the narratives you're trying to get out there into this bloody universe?
Mate, work-life hacking.
Right.
How to find more productive. I'm a productivity ninja. It's all about helping people create more time flow in thetheir lives, so they can do more of this stuff. And that's not far removed from what I do. But some of the mechanics, because some people have got a lot of blockages, whether they work for a company or whether they work for themselves. There's a lot of efficiencies to be found. So I love the helping people clear up their schedule so they can be more present to their family and more present, be a better parent, better leader, better work colleague, better partner, and be more present. Our attention, as you know, our attention is our most valuable commodity right now.
Absolutely.
We live in a multitasking world. We're all going crazy. There's too much information. We suffer from infobesity. And I love helping people clear that up, giving them some hacks to help so they can create their own version of, their own mix of work-life blend, their definition, because the world has changed. And we got companies now, like Ernst Young, 30% of their workforce ain't going back into the office.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, eh?
It's crazy, man. Like the big shift, the big readjust. There's some companies. Not everyone's suffering. There's a whole bunch of businesses thriving.
Yep.
But this whole concept of work and life, it's changed.
I like how you said work-life blend, though. I'm on that page too. When people, I don't know.
That's what I talk about.
When people say work-life balance, there's this assumption of what balance actually means, and most people think balance is an equilibrium of something being equal, but it's work-life balance could be 90-10 depending on what week you're looking at, right?
I got this, and you love this from our mate Grant Cardone. You interviewed Grant, and he's a champion, I reckon. And he's like, just be obsessed about everything.
Yeah.
And be obsessed or be average.
That's actually one of my favorite books, I've got to say.
Dude, look at this. Boom.
Yeah.
They weren't fake books, by the way. This is, there it is. It's been torn apart. And it is. It kind of gives.
You've got his audio book?
License. Hey?
Have you got his audio book of that?
No.
Oh, mate.
I've got the videos, though.
Mate, honestly, get get the audio book of. Well, imagine him reading his book. It's an entertaining thing just in itself. But it fucking motivates you, man. Like,
yeah, right.
There's
do that.
Be Obsessed, and then the 10x, the audio books.
10x. Yeah.
You'll thank me. You'll listen to it, you go, fuck that. Absolutely. Just the energy.
10X.
You'll be able to vibe well because I think you're definitely on this level of. You don't even need to really hear what he's actually saying at times, right? Whilst that's obviously super important. Some people, and Tony Robbins is very similar like this. Just the level of energy and vibration that they put out just naturally elevates.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Look, and he gives us license in that book in particular, be obsessed about everything. If you're going to be a parent, be obsessed about it. Yeah. But don't multitask.
Yeah.
When you're on, you're on. When you're focusing on that, focus on it. Don't try and do 100 things at once.
Yeah.
These guys are not time managers. They're time leaders. They're energy leaders. And they do everything. The high productivity guys and girls are just good at a lot of things because they're so good at task switching and not doing everything at once, of course. It takes, if you've got a good EA or a PA, that kind of helps as a gatekeeper. But we've got to be our own PA and EA these days, especially in small business. Yeah. And how we get dinged and how we get interrupted. And, we waste something like 30% of our days task switching, going from one task and then we get interrupted. You waste 30% of your day getting back to that original task. Yeah. And it's actually it actually makes you dumber. Yeah. By task switching.
Absolutely.
So the best CEOs in the world, as you know, do one thing until completion, then do the other thing until the completion. Their gatekeeper out the front says, you're doing that meeting and then you're doing that one and then you're doing that one. Not like his 10 things, do them all in this half an hour.
Absolutely.
So it's about getting these principles of what the best CEOs in the world will do and allowing other people to think and act and run their lives like that, but not just business, but being a parent, but even with exercise, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I've been talking about. And obviously I'm amped up about it. I love talking about it.
Oh, of course.
The other thing, I'm getting on a lot of podcasts and stuff and getting interviewed about mental health right now as well. So, which is, a deep passion of mine.
Yeah, it's very close to me as well. We actually here, Claxon, we've taken on Livin. You'll know Livin.
Oh, yeah.
So we've taken them on as obviously as a charitable client to help them with obviously men's mental health and had the boys of that on the other day having a good conversation around it. I just think it's a conversation that it's almost frowned upon or it's fearful. If you say something, you might trigger someone and it's not good to talk about, but it's that whole thing of, what I love about the Livin method or message is it ain't weak to speak.
No.
And as you probably maybe experienced, I know certainly, in my younger days, it was the, harden the fuck up, grab a teaspoon of cement and, it's you're weak if you talk about your feelings and it was only okay for girls to cry and not boys. And we're bringing years and years and years of narratives that are just, in my view, it's just not true. It just shouldn't be the way.
Yeah, male ego is driving us into the grave.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
And because we don't share and communicate in the way that we should, that's hence why we've got a problem, the over-prescription of antidepressants. And I'll go, because I talk about what I went through, and it's pretty vanilla compared to what compared to other people's stories, but our own perception is your own reality, right?
That's right. As you said, it's not a fucking, pissing contest, right? Who's got the worst story or the best story?
Yeah, man. And I'll get up. I went into ASIC. I did a keynote for ASIC, the Australian Securities and Investment Commission of Australia. I went into the risk management division, like possibly the biggest governance kind of nerds in Australia. Yeah. and did a talk on Friday in Sydney. And I I did my talk. I talked about the depression side of things and used some other examples. The highest ranking person in the room just like cornered me straight afterwards, and he's like, can I come and talk to you? I could see him welling up, and which always happens.
Yeah.
And it's not my goal to try and get some crying, but I could see that it touched a nerve, whether it be the cancer stuff that I talk about, or around life's too short, or whether it be depression. It always triggers, and I'm very open and vulnerable about my stories as well. So the highest ranking person, he goes, look, and he just shoved me in the corner. He goes, I've got to put you in a corner with respect, because and I've got to have you looking out at everyone. I can't see them. I can't have them see me like this. And he was a wreck.
Yeah.
He's just gone, mate, I just, hand on heart, I just want to thank you, what you said. I'm going to go home. I'm going to do this. Can I send you some stuff? And da-da-da-da. And I'm like, dude, look, thank you. Here's my email address, and just leave the room now. It's cool. I'm going to send you some, Lifeline depression initiatives, some other people to talk to as well. So, make sure I do that. And he goes, just thank you so much, and it's not about talking about cancer or depression or life's too short and just staying in that. It's about giving them tools.
Yeah.
And what you see out there when I talk is the tools that I used to get myself out of the hole. And I love to pay that shit forward and not to tell people how they should live their life, or they must, or they should, or they have to, or anything like that, or they need to do this. It's about just giving them another filter to look at their life through. And, this guy thanked me, on behalf of his kids and his wife, and he's just, he was in a bad place. And I know it affected a lot of other, especially guys in that room that day. And that happens kind of 25% of the audience, they're being affected in that positive way. They're the ones that actually share with me too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a bunch that certainly don't.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think of the rise of Jordan Peterson? Have you followed much of him?
Jordan Peterson and I have something in common. We're both on the carnivore diet. That's about it.
Are you on a carnivore diet?
Yeah. So not full blown, but we eat a lot of meat.
Right.
It's unreal.
You like it? You rate it. Give me your quick, because I've thought about it. I always like to try certain things, but why are you doing it?
Dr. Sean Baker, who's like the Meat RX guy. And I did it. This is what I have in common with Jordan Peterson. Jordan, I don't know. There's certain people like Grant I can listen to all day. I don't know. There's some people I just can't. He's not one of these guys that I can sit down and listen to all day.
Right.
Even though he might be spitting gold.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It doesn't wash with me. So for me, carnivore, and for my partner, we work out every night. Obviously, good for recovery. And helps with sugar addiction, obviously, because you're basically having zero carbs, and so therefore having zero carbs. Not that we have zero carbs, we still have a few veggies and stuff, but not as many as we were. It puts you into a ketosis. So ketosis is a fat burning zone, and you're constantly sort of in that zone. It gives you a license to eat all the fat on the meat. It's kind of weird. And
do you need a license for that? You can't just eat it.
No, not at all. But
I haven't got the license.
I know. But cut off the fat, and it's bad for you. But all the studies are coming back with it has no real impact on cholesterol and these sorts of things, and it's actually just good energy. So and sustaining energy, we're combining the carnivore thing to about 90%.
Right,
I reckon.
So what's breakfast look like?
Hamburger, bacon, and egg.
So is it no bun? You just got
no
just
bun.
A meat patty,
straight up.
So what, like beef?
Fattier the better.
Like lean cut, like what type of beef?
Nothing lean. No, nothing lean.
So just a standard old.
If but
isn't that all processed shit?
Oh no! You get them from the butcher. You can get really nice.
So lean
nice,
ground beef.
Nice. great meat. Yeah, great quality meat.
Do you make the patties yourself, or you?
Have done.
But you prefer to have them already made?
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to do that? Okay, so you got a patty. Yeah. You got a patty. What else? An egg.
A global business to run. I'm not going to sit around making patties. Mate.
Oh, you're not a chef. I thought you'd fucking be interested.
I'm a speaker, not a chef.
Yeah.
But no. But most of our main meal, our first meal of the day, will happen around lunchtime too. So we're combining fasting.
So you fast.
We're going to 2 meals a day.
Right.
Yeah, two meals a day.
So about lunchtime, you got a patty, you got an egg, and slice of bacon.
Or it might be a big fuck off steak.
Right, 250 grams, 500 grams, what?
250. Please, come on.
Yeah, I know. 500 T-bone.
You got to man up. There's half a.
Sorry, mate. You're reminding me of my childhood. Stop it. I think I'm already a man. Don't be mean. No.
Yeah, come on, mate.
I'm going to go home and go. I'm never going to eat a 250-gram piece of steak ever anywhere. No.
Don't even buy it. But no, we're talking Scotch fillets. We're talking big T-bones. We're talking, like the bigger, fattier, nice marbled meats.
Put butter on it when you're cooking it?
Whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so you've...
all that.
So you'll have...
Yeah, and even, go...
And the reason why I'm asking is...
no sauces. I know, you're going to try this.
Well, I've been on the precipice of trying it already, and this could be the push that I need. Well, not a push. I just want to know some info.
I think like the rest of the world, I watch Game Changers, and went vegan.
Yeah,
worked for about 2 weeks.
I learned the power of fucking marketing. That's why I knew I fell in love with marketing and understanding psychology and people and influence and all of that.
Yeah, everyone interviewed had a vegan company and all that sort of stuff. And so I think the adverse out of this is, that the carnivore thing has come up, but there's reasons. It's not just, like it's inflammation, it's recovery.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I've grown up with asthma and eczema, good for skin.
So it helped your asthma?
I've got no proof around that right now, but
I'm not looking for stats. Do you feel like it helped?
I feel way better.
Right.
And I'm not as sore for longer either.
Did you get bloods done?
You got to drink a shitload of water. And increase your salt intake as well.
Right. I'd have pounds of salt on my steak anyway. I love a good rock salt.
Well, the thing is, if you're in ketosis, right? If you're in ketosis, you haven't got there's 5 energy sources, as you know. You got alcohol, which your body will take that first, then simple sugar, then complex carbs, then fat, and then protein. It'll take that from top down.
Yeah.
If you've got less alcohol, simple sugar, complex carbs in the way, it'll tap into your fat.
Yeah, and or protein, depending what you're doing,
and that's the most rich energy source. So we've got that stored all around our body.
Yeah.
So, and you'll feel on fire, like you've had a couple of Red Bulls when you're in full-on ketosis.
You drink coffee?
Shitloads.
Heaps of caffeine. So you're having your caffeine.
No, I'm dairy intolerant.
So 75% of the population, isn't it? Really? Close to it?
I mean, human beings are dairy intolerant.
Drinking bloody cow's milk. So you wake up, hit the coffees, 12 o'clock, you got your meat patty, you got your bacon.
I'll do a couple of coffees and then it's meat time.
Okay. And then what?
I deal a lot with America. So as soon as I've got a company over in America, so I'm like, as soon as I wake up, I'm kind of working.
Yeah.
After I go for a bike ride, normally I'm back straight into working. So it's just coffee and then deal with business. And then it sort of chills out. Pacific time, it sort of chills out. And then I can get into the food. But myself and my partner Tracy, we work out. We
do you find your body's craving carbs after you work out?
No.
Maybe at the start, not really.
No. You kind of train yourself out of that.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
And train your sweet tooth out of it too.
What was the hardest? The first week or two?
The first. We're having salmon and these sorts of eggs and all this sort of stuff as well.
So it's not just beef.
Beats red meat,
right?
Red meat. You feel that your body needs, when you get into it, you feel that your body needs more red meat and fattier meat as you get into it more.
Yeah.
And anyone that says, "Are you craving carbs or craving sugar?" It's like, just eat more meat, and that'll go away.
Right. So you snack on meat?
Yeah. I got some stuff.
I'm already planning my little snack bag of rump steak bites or something.
I got, you know what? I've got the guys. Shout out to the guys at Beef Chiefs.
Beef Chiefs.
For hooking me up on some jerky, some beef jerky.
Oh yeah. You don't worry about the high levels of sodium in the jerky?
Drink more water.
Okay. So what are you having for dinners? Same as lunch or?
Yeah, it's pretty boring.
Yeah. I'm not a flashy type of eater. I'd rather eat to survive than
It's full primal.
Yeah.
You and this is gonna, sex life is better. You feel like it's natural.
Yeah, right. I remember when Joe Rogan did it. The biggest thing he talked about was how he was shitting. How does it affect your bowels?
Again, water, you're fine.
Diarrhea?
No, the opposite.
Solid's cool. Kind of there we go. Just turn the podcast into a shit talk. But
we're talking.
Yeah, we've been talking shit all day. That's cool. Well,
anyway.
Maybe
this started with Jordan Peterson. So
the reason why I asked that was he's had such a monumental effect on so many young males, right? And males who have.
But do you know why? Because he's straight talking.
Yep. Well, here's why I believe, and I'll frame it in the context. I've listened to a couple of 100 hours of his stuff, so I'm probably a dick rider. I'm a big fan of his, right?
Yeah, right. Cool.
In the depth of his knowledge, first and foremost, which is what I guess I was initially attracted to, was how smart and intelligent this person was. And you don't very rarely come across super intelligent people who can take intelligence and explain it in such a way that you know that it feels to be true. Right? You know, when you hear something, you're like, I already felt like I know it. I've never said that or never expressed it, but you've just found words for me to share what I'm feeling and thinking, and you've just been able to articulate that.
Interesting. Oh, look, I'm going to take the tip, and I'm going to go down the rabbit hole, I think.
Let me send you a couple of. I've put probably at least 50 people onto some. I've got a starting point that you need to start with. Because there's thousands of videos out there.
The gateway.
I've got the gateway drug. And every time I've almost sent this to people, they've sent back going, oh, no, I've just watched another 2 or 3 videos.
Yeah, cool. Love it.
But
Love it.
But to that point, right, it's the ability to be able to articulate something in such a way that it's visceral for especially young men. It's not just young men. He's helping women, everyone around the world, but he's been sort of pigeonholed into this sort of arena of young white males. It's like the reason being is he's really telling us to take personal responsibility for our lives, and here's how you can start it, right? And
is it his communication message, or is it is it the way he communicates, or is it the message? Is it the thought leadership? Or what do you think it is?
Mate, for me, it is one. It's the message itself it's always on point, right?
Yeah, right.
But it's how he gets there, and like I said to you, I'm a very deep thinker. Me and you would have a great afternoon, fucking on nice wines. If you're allowed to drink that with the carnivore diet, I'm sure you are. Red wine actually will help it break down the acidity. There's the excuse. But being able to have deep conversations. Right, and see different layers and layers upon layers, and it's not just the same stuff we hear in the personal development world. He's a clinical psychologist by trade, so he comes to it with a total different perspective.
A philosophical perspective, from what I hear, from what I pick up.
Very, and even like, I'm not a religious person, right? But I've literally watched his biblical series where he breaks down the Bible, the stories, and he was asked a question because they're like, do you believe in God? And I was very interested. I was like, I wonder what he's going to say to this. Because he's never said, that he does or something, but he always recites stories and he recites metaphor and how
you get a lot of hate. I know he's from Canada, but he's known in the US. He can get a lot of haters like that.
I'll show you one video and you'll be like, oh, but to the point where was I going with that? What was I saying?
Do you believe in God?
Yeah. And his answer to it was something that I was like, oh, because are you religious?
No.
No. So someone asked him, do you believe in God? And he goes, I act as though he is true. And I was like,
wow, that's interesting.
ooh. Like when you think about that and you sort of open that up as a conversational point, I was just like, wow, that's deep, man. Like that's,
Shit.
I act as though he is true. And
I have to think about that.
yeah, it's one of those things that throw you. But imagine listening to him in an hour lecture or something, and you're like, hold on, I need to pause that video.
Yeah, I need to stop. Just head fuck me.
Yeah. And I mean, I tackled his book, Maps of Meaning, right?
Yeah, right.
It's a 35-hour audio book. It's probably the hardest, deepest book that I've ever tried to tackle. Yeah. It's the only book that I can listen to. And he even says this, right? This is his prerequisite to it is don't read it or tackle it unless you can handle sort of the complexities of ways of thinking. I can only listen to that specific book when I'm laying in my bed and it's pitch black dark and I've got my headphones in.
And really,
I have to focus.
Fully zone.
I've got to focus on what he's saying. I've got to stop it and think about it and go, so, but his new book, 12 Rules for Life, is super cool, man. I actually think you'd like it. It's just a different, it's almost a different approach to personal development, but he's sort of coming to it from a clinical, more of a different,
for me, it seems on the surface, and I haven't gone down the rabbit hole, but he's like a modern day Stoic.
Yeah, essentially.
You know what I mean?
My mate Jack and I were, because he loves Jordan Peterson as well, and the message and what it's all about. And we're sitting there talking, funnily enough, over a couple of wines, and we were like, "What? Why is there this guy who?" He was known for resisting Bill C-16 in Canada, right, which is legalized speech, right?
Yeah,
so Canada were trying to legalize what you can and cannot say, right? That's when the left just went wild 4 years ago. Yeah. And he was like, I'm not standing for that, right? I'm not standing for that because here's why. Here's what's going to happen to the world. Here's what's going to happen when a hierarchy gets broken and it's, and he explained it in such a way that you're, oh my God, I can see how that's going to happen. And he pulls from history and he pulls, with actual facts. That's why he can, people, all journalists try and debunk him or they try and catch him. And he's just, again, he's so thoughtful with what he says and why he says it and how he says it and where he's drawing that from. Yeah. It's like when do you know Ben Shapiro?
I know.
You've heard of him? Yeah. So he's not someone you'd want to debate because he would just out-debate you because he just knows his shit. I'd tap out after a couple of paragraphs and be like, I'm done. I don't know anything else to add, right? But when someone's got that depth of knowledge, they're able to recall and pull from. So for him, it's a... I was sitting with Jack and we're like, what is about this? What is it about this guy? And we summed it up. Because he did like 200 tours around Australia, like 200. Yeah, he was in Brisbane, Australia, like he went Melbourne, everywhere, US. He did a whole tour. Now, have you ever known where someone comes on stage for 2 hours and they just start talking? It's not the same speech.
No rah-rah.
No rah-rah. He's like,
I've heard that.
He's like, today I'm going to try and break this down. Yep, I'm going to try and break this down, and I'm going to be thinking about this and I'd like to try and explain this or expand on my thinking around this. And we summed it up as this: the logos in action, right? It is watching someone. It's like watching a wood carver carving out their statue. You're sitting there watching. You're watching an intellect. You're watching an intellect expand on his thoughts and provide context to things that we have never ever had a conversation around, but we already know.
Yeah, I love it, mate. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. Thanks for that. That's a gift. That's a good gift.
You're welcome. Yeah. We've been sharing gifts galore today. I'm going to go and eat a lot more meat.
We've talked about meat. We've talked about vegans. We've talked about
bucket
religion
list.
Now, what do you think about Trump? How are we going there?
Mate,
No, don't.
I like these conversations. Put it this way.
We haven't done politics yet, so we've done everything else.
It's a dangerous conversation for some.
Dude.
But I've actually, the last few months, I've really taken it. You know what? I'm fucking going to speak my mind. You don't have to like it. I'm sick of being, and it doesn't mean I'm going to get out on social media and start making rants or posts or something. But this is why, again, in a podcast forum, I think
you see old mate from CrossFit.
Oh, see, like
about George Floyd.
Mate,
oh my God.
I do not think that should have happened, right? In my view, that's ridiculous. That's just the left gone, like I said earlier, they've run too far off a cliff. And that's the scary thing. And this ties back to Jordan Peterson, mate, is we are living in a society right now where who knows where it's going to end. I mean, we're changing statues. Well, we're pulling down statues. We're changing names of everything, and it's, where does it stop? Like, now, I'm not saying some of these things shouldn't be happening or whatever. Again, I don't know enough too much about the history of it to really make, very informative opinions, right? Yeah. It's basically more my feeling around where I see things heading towards if this continues, right? Based off what we're seeing. But it's like even the whole COVID situation. I mean, it's a very interesting time, and mate, the world needs more of what you're talking about, 100%. And mate, we need to lock in another time to have a podcast and talk about this, that, and everything else. I think,
love to.
Mate, I've really enjoyed our conversation today.
Start a new one. The world are calling to Trav and Brett.
There you go, mate. Let's do it.
.com.
Yeah. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Here's what I want to do, and I'll leave you with one final question. You would have heard this question because you've listened to a couple of episodes. Please. But, mate, assuming, well, actually, not assuming, because this is about to happen. Mark Zuckerberg's about to slide into your DMs, right? He's had a hard time over the last few months. He's taken a bit of a break with his wife and children, and he needs someone to take care of Facebook. And they're like, I heard there's this guy, Trav, the bucket list guy. He's doing amazing things. I think he'd be a perfect candidate to fill in for the next couple of weeks. So he slides in your DM, says, Trav, mate, I want you to take over Facebook for a couple of weeks. I'm not going to pay you, just quietly. You're not going to get paid, but what you are going to be able to do is you're going to be able to post one thing on Facebook. You're going to be able to post one thing on Facebook, and what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to pin it to the top of everyone's news feed. So the 2.6 billion users that we have are going to read your post every time they log in to Facebook. What does your post say, and why? Now it could be a graphic, it could be a video, it could be a documentary, it could be whatever you want it to be. You've got full autonomy to create a post on Facebook. What does it say and why?
I was going to say something stupid, but I won't. No, in all seriousness, Trav, Trav, which one do you listen to? Wake up. Life's way too short not to live your bucket list. And then get the people, this is interesting, get the people at Facebook to create an algorithm that plugs in their age and 80 years, which is the average age of death, and just this countdown that you cannot get off any device. And it's always in your field of vision.
Here we go. You're going to scare people to death. But it's true.
Like
realization.
The motivation thing, let's use death as a motivator in a positive way.
Absolutely. Well, mate, absolute pleasure. Thank you for providing value here today, mate. It's been a wonderful conversation. I look forward to having plenty more of them.
Likewise, my friend.
Awesome, buddy.
Great to connect.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please be sure to head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star review. Also, if you want brownie points, leave us a comment. That'd be really appreciated. And last but not least, make sure you take a screenshot of this or take a photo where you're listening to it, upload it to your Instagram stories, and make sure you tag me at Brett Campbell official. It'll just let me know that you're a super cool person because you're checking out what we've got. And that's about it. If you're still here, go check out the next episode because there's nothing else in this one.